What is up, you guys, and welcome back to my channel. First of all, I want to say thank you guys so much for clicking onto today's video. If you guys don't know me, my name is Brendan. I'm really excited for today's video, you guys. First, you could tell by the tattoo from the shirt that I'm wearing. So I got a lot of inspiration from a couple of YouTubers that I watch. I was noticing that they were posting videos basically ranking like their favorite TV stars, their favorite TV shows, and kind of just doing a top tier list. And that's kind of what I want to do today with the show Friends. Recently, a couple months ago, I just started watching Friends for the first time. I know I'm seriously so late to watching the show, but it's such a good show. I'm on season 9 right now. I've been watching it with Jesse. Comedy, the characters, the storyline, it's just so good. So if you guys have never seen Friends before, highly recommend you watching it. I'm pretty sure many of you have. I have a top tier list, and I'm going to talk about that. I have the different rankings that I have. So I'm going to talk about it more throughout the video, you guys, but I just wanted to post this top tier list that I'm going to be talking about, how I'm going to rank the characters, just so you guys are really clear about what I'm talking about. I don't want anyone to be confused, but here's my top tier list. I'm also just going to talk about like the cast member, where I rank them, and kind of why I rank them the way that I do based on the show and just like the storyline. So I kind of split all of the characters into their own category. So I split everyone that's related to Rachel in her own category, everyone related to Phoebe, Joey, Chandler, Ross, and Monica. I put Ross and Monica in the same category because they are brother and sister. So I basically, anyone in the show that's related to any of the main characters, I put them in that category. So my top tier list is 0 through 2. Ew. For me, I either don't like the character because of their morals or just like how they act in the show. I just cringe and I don't agree with the actions that they chose. Is ew, like I don't like the character, can't stand them, goodbye kind of deal. And then 3 through 6 is they're all right. But they're all right, you know, like, I don't hate them, but they're all right. They're just a character in the show. I don't mind. And 7 through 9 is we love, so they're not, like, my absolute favorite character. Number 10 is such a star. So this character is a queen, a star. We love them. We praise them. We wish them the best. That's what 10 is for such a star. I'm going to start off with Rachel. So I'm going to start off with Rachel, and anybody that's related to Rachel or anyone that had a relationship with Rachel, I'm going to start off with her. So Rachel, I did a 7. So I did Rachel a 7 just because I feel like the choice of men that she's chosen throughout the show has been poor, especially Ross. Rachel hasn't fully matured yet, and I think she still is trying to figure out herself. Finally matured a little bit when she had her baby, Emma. So gave Rachel a 7. And then Tag is Rachel's boyfriend. Her boyfriend that was her assistant that she hired when she was working at Ralph Lauren. And I rated him a 7. I think Tag was very immature for Rachel, but he genuinely was a good guy. So I rated him a 7. Dr. Leonard Green is Rachel's father. I had mixed feelings about Rachel's dad. Supported her, but not supported her emotionally. He's just supported her financially. He never really was there for her on a personal level, so I gave him a 5. And then Sandra Green, which is Rachel's mom, I rated her a 6 because I feel like she was a little bit more supportive than Rachel's dad. Like when Monica and Phoebe didn't invite Rachel's mom to her baby shower until like the day before, you could genuinely tell that she was affected by that and that she didn't get invited. And I think that's just part of just being a mom, like wanting to be there for your child's like big day, especially like a baby shower when Rachel's supposed to have a baby. So I rated her a 6. Jill Green is Rachel's sister. I think she is very irresponsible. She doesn't want to work. She doesn't want to better herself. She just wants to rely on her father's money. And for me, I don't agree with that 100%. Should do what Rachel did, where she had to live on her own, get her own job, make her own money. So I rated Jill a 4. Gunther is I put him in Rachel's category because he's obsessed with Rachel. And I literally laugh anytime because nobody in the show knows that Gunther is like obsessed with Rachel. And I think it's just funny knowing as like someone who watches the show, laugh because you know that Gunther's obsessed with Rachel, but no one else on the show knows that. So I gave Gunther a 7. I feel like he's just so funny. I know, like, and he's creepy, but, like, it's just funny to me how nobody knows that he is, like, obsessed with Rachel. Paul Stevens was the father of, I forget her name, Ross's student that he dated. I know, call me a fake fan. I can't remember her name on the top of my head. Alrighty, y'all, I'm editing the video right now, and I remembered her name. Her name was Elizabeth. Pretty sure it's Elizabeth. I just had to add this in here because I was like, what the hell was her name? But basically, Paul was the father of the daughter of Ross's student, but he did date Rachel. And I gave him a 3. I don't think him and Rachel really were meant to be together. I felt like it was kind of like a really forced relationship. Now Rachel's over. We're gonna move into Phoebe. And Phoebe, hands down, you guys, I'm gonna tell you right now, is my favorite character in Friends. I love Phoebe. She's so funny. Never knows what she's talking about. Like, she's my favorite. So I gave Phoebe a 10. Phoebe and her sister Ursula, because she played, Lisa Kudrow also plays Ursula, her sister, her twin sister. And it's just funny how their personalities are just so different, and the way that Ursula treats Phoebe absolutely makes me laugh, because Phoebe's just trying to build a relationship with her twin sister, but her twin sister is just a liar and likes to keep things away from Phoebe and basically doesn't want any part of her. Lisa Kudrow does such a good job of portraying Phoebe as a character, but also Ursula as well. The character is Frank Buffet Jr., and he is Phoebe's brother. Y'all, my camera died. So I was talking about Frank Jr., which is Phoebe's brother, and then Alice, who is basically the girlfriend of Frank, and Phoebe basically had their 3 children. He offered to have Frank and Alice's kids, and honestly, that's another reason why I respected Phoebe so much, because she did end up having such a personal connection to these 3 kids that she had, and she ended up just having to give them away to Frank and Alice because she was basically doing them a favor. Frank is definitely an interesting person to me. I feel like he's a little bit out there. He just runs in the Buffet family. So I ranked him a 5, and Alice, I ranked her a 5. I feel like they just wanted the 3 kids from Phoebe. I don't see them anymore in the show, and I feel like that's kind of just messed up on a personal level. Like, Phoebe has your kids for you, and you can't even, like, keep in contact with her. So I didn't really like that they just only had them in the show for the kids, and then after that, once Phoebe had the 3 kids, basically they were out of the show completely. Person is Phoebe Abbott. I can't say her last name. Phoebe's mom. Phoebe's mom, I have a lot of mixed feelings for. I don't like any of Phoebe's parents, her dad or her mom. I guess I could talk about Frank Buffet as well. I ranked Frank a 0 because I feel like he's a terrible father, and he had no part of Phoebe's life whatsoever. At least with Phoebe's mom, I ranked her a 4. I feel like her mom at least wanted to have some form of relationship, knew that she was in the wrong for abandoning Phoebe as a kid. And you could tell, though, in the show when they went to the beach house, snuck into her mom's place, and they ended up, like, confronting each other and talking to each other, you could really tell that Phoebe's mom had a heart for her and wanted to have a relationship with her. So is everyone that related to Phoebe in the show. Now I'm gonna move to Monica and Ross. So Monica, I ranked a 10 because Monica is just so funny. Like, her personality literally makes me laugh, and I love how she's just herself and she's not even embarrassed about it. Like, how she's OCD and she likes everything a certain way. And she's just very passionate about what she believes in with cooking and being a chef. And I just admire it so much. Ross, I give a 0. I don't like Ross. I think Ross is very selfish. He only cares about himself. He was horrible to Emily, his second wife, which I actually ranked Emily a 9 because I feel like Emily, even though she might have seemed like not a good person for Ross, she genuinely loved him. And the fact that Ross tried to marry someone who he wasn't even in love with completely when he said Rachel's name instead at the altar, like, I have so much respect for Emily to not wanting to have any part of him. And she gave him a second chance, and he still could not get it together. And then I also don't really like Ross because of Rachel and their relationship. Just a very confusing character. He is very selfish. He only thinks about himself. And the whole fight between him and Rachel about being on a break, don't even get me started with that debate. Ross was in the wrong for sleeping with someone right after him and Rachel broke up. That's the first thing he resorted to. So definitely don't like Ross. The person is Jack and Judy Geller, which is Monica and Ross's parents. I ranked both of them a 0 as well because I definitely don't like them as parents. I think they're very rude to Monica. They're very hard on her, and you can tell that they favor Ross over Monica. And the episode where Monica wanted to get her childhood belongings when they went to the garage because their parents were selling their house, when the dad basically told Ross, well, all your stuff is here, but we had a water leak and basically all of Monica's stuff is damaged. And for me, I would have been so pissed. Monica literally had nothing from her childhood to remember of because her parents thought about Ross more than Monica. And for me, that's a no. Like, you should be loving your children both equally. Like, there should be no favorites. So don't like Judy and Jack Geller.
Goodbye.
Characters is Carol and Susan. So Carol is basically Ross's first wife who ended up coming out as a lesbian. She came out as lesbian and then ended up getting together with Susan, which ended up being her wife. I think she should have been honest with Ross about her identity and not be with him for so long as she was. But I'm glad she ended up leaving him and doing what made her happy. So I rated her a 6, and I rated Susan an 8 because I love how Susan does not care what Ross says, and she purposely likes to anger him. So I definitely love Susan's character because she sticks up for herself and she doesn't let Ross boss her around. Next would be Ben, which is Ross's son or Carol's son. I rated him a 2 because I feel like he's kind of a brat. I think you kind of really see him become a brat in the episode with Rachel babysitting Ben and Rachel kind of being an instigator and teaching him like bad things. Richard is the next character I'm going to talk about, which is one of Monica's first true loves, but he is also her eye doctor and he's very well known in the family of the Gellers. And I ended up rating him a 2 because he hurt Monica so badly, and then after the fact, he wanted to try to marry her or get back with her when she was already in a really serious relationship with Chandler. So I have a lot of disrespect for Richard because he hurt Monica and then tried getting back with her to hurt her more when she was already in a serious committed relationship with Chandler. So no. P is the next guy, which is also one of Monica's ex-boyfriends. I rated him a 2 because I feel like he was very self-centered and only cared about himself. And when Monica was telling him, like, you should stop doing these, like, serious fights where he was basically getting his ass beat, she was trying to be there for him and tell him, like, I don't think this is a good idea. I don't think you should do it. And he kept doing it. And he's like, well, this is my dream. This is my passion. Monica could have been understanding about it, but I can see why she was being so protective because she didn't want to see him get hurt. So that's everyone that's related to Monica and Ross. I'm going to go ahead and move to Joey because I feel like Joey doesn't really have that many people in the show that are connected to him. I'm not going to really talk about his family in the show a little bit and out of the show, but I'm decided to just do Joey and Estelle, which is Joey's agent, because Joey wants to become a very famous actor. So Joey, I feel like, is a good guy. I think he genuinely is a good guy in the show, and he really cares about all the girls in the show, Monica, Phoebe, and Rachel, but he also is just a really loving person. So I rated Joey an 8, and then Estelle is really funny. I just like how in the show they randomly insert her calling Joey and be like, I have this gig for you, I have this audition if you want to go to it. So I rated Estelle an 8. I'm going to go ahead and get into Chandler. Chandler is a very interesting character. I sometimes like Chandler and sometimes I don't like Chandler throughout the show. I feel like he's a really good guy to Monica, and I'm really glad in the show they ended up being together and getting married. But I also feel like he's just kind of selfish in his own ways. So I rated Chandler a 6. And Chandler's parents, Nora Bean and Charles Bean, I ended up rating Nora a 5. I feel like wasn't really a part of Chandler's life that often. I feel like she was really only there for Monica and Chandler's wedding, so I rated her a 5. And then Charles Bean, the episode where Monica told Chandler that they should go to Vegas and see Chandler's dad, who ended up being a transgender and Chandler never really had respect for his dad being a transgender. Kind of made me not like Chandler that much either, because I feel like regardless, I know times were different back then when the show was filmed, and they're just like characters. I mean, Matthew Perry could have a completely different view on transgender people, but in the show as Chandler, he wasn't very supportive of his dad being a transgender. And I really loved Monica encouraging him to have a relationship with his dad and invite him to their wedding. And you could tell how emotional the dad was when they went to see him where his job was, and basically telling him in that moment, I want you to be at my wedding. Like, it was just a really emotional episode for me. So I rated Chandler's dad an 8. The last two characters I'm going to talk about is Janice and Kathy. Janice is one of Chandler's first lovers. Janice, I rated a 10
because her laugh has me dead.
I literally cannot with Janice's laugh. And then Kathy, I ended up rating a 5. One of Joey and Chandler's lovers. They ended up both dating Kathy, and I feel like she didn't really know what she wanted. I feel like she kind of played with Chandler a lot when Chandler was actually getting real feelings for her. And to know that I think Joey dated her too, it was hard for Chandler to hear that. Alrighty, you guys, that is the end of this video. Thank you guys so much for clicking onto today's video. I really had fun filming this video and just talking about Friends. I'm actually thinking about doing this as a series where I just rank my favorite TV show stars or characters. I think it'd be really fun to do like The Office, to do Grace and Frankie. I think it would be really fun to do Gilmore Girls. So I would love to do a series on this and do different shows. So let me guys know down in the comments if you want to see that. Like this video, guys, if you liked it. Please subscribe to this channel, but I also have a vlog channel as well that I just recently started. So you guys are interested in checking that out, I'm going to link it down in the description below. But I hope you guys all take care of yourselves, and I'll definitely see you guys in my next video. Bye.